Okay, yoga instructors, this one is for you. Are you ever stuck in your head, second guessing every decision, everything you say while you are teaching a class, or even just before you go to teach a class, or when you're planning a class, when you're thinking about it later on after the class, when you're going over it a million times? How much of the time do you spend stuck in your head thinking things like, oh my gosh, did they even take me seriously? Or, oh, what if I screw up the Sanskrit way of saying this pose? Or wholly forget the left side of a pose or mess up my sequence? Am I even ready for this? Or going over it afterwards, thinking, oh, I cannot believe I said that. Why would I even say that word in the middle of class? Which, let me tell you, if I could just stop and tell you all the funny things that have been said during class that made the whole room laugh because you weren't trying to be funny, but it came out funny, I could write a book. Listen, you're not alone. Many yoga instructors go through this. We get stuck in our heads, we overthink, we overanalyze, we judge ourselves, we swirl around, and really it feels like we're just being responsible. We're just being careful. We really want to, put on a good class. We want to give value. We want it to all be cohesive. But the thing is, by overthinking, you're totally blocking that flow. It's not going to be as cohesive as if you were in flow. And you're not going to grow the following that you want to if you're constantly feeling like you're overthinking, like you're stressing it, because they will pick up on that. They will sense your nervousness. They will not laugh off the tripping up of your words if you can't do the same. Listen, today we're going to talk all about this, how it comes up for many of us, what it looks like, and some tips to overcome all that overthinking so you can go out there and lead and let it just come from a place of flow, to not take yourself seriously and to really enjoy and get back to the passion and confidence that you want when you're out there teaching yoga. Hey, I'm Jennifer Sack, and I help yoga instructors who feel a little bit like a sham due to their own chronic tension and wrestle with self-doubt. I help them reconnect to their peace, their passion, and the confidence so they can step into their role as an authentic leader, thrive in their wellness practice, and really create the impact and freedom that they desire. Now, before we dive in today about how the stress loop really operates with all this overthinking, how it keeps you stuck, and how then to move into aligned action instead, I want to share a little bit about my personal journey. And one story that comes to mind when it comes to this overthinking tendency is when I was offered an event slot at a local yoga studio. Now, I had been to the studio, I had gone to classes where the studio was, and experienced how amazing the other teachers were. And I felt like I might not have the chops to really fill in and be a part of their community. They were so good. So I had all this self-doubt. I hemmed and hawed and I thought about it. I wondered if anyone would show up. What kind of theme or value could I lend or lead? I just, went over and over in circles. And long story short, I lost the spot. It got filled because I took too long to think about it, not because I wasn't skilled. They wouldn't have asked me if they didn't know I was skilled for it. But I doubted myself and I second guessed and I ruminated way too long about it. There is so many times that I have walked away from overthinking either before a class or event, during it, which totally trips you up, makes you forget things, takes you out of the moment, ruins your presence and your kind of peace and your flow, or even just ruminated way too much after the fact, always thinking about how it went, how I sounded when I said that, how I could have done it better. So much time wasted just overthinking the entire process. And anytime I led a class or event, really, those aspects were unnecessary. It was wasted energy. I really had the skills deep down. I knew it, but I felt like if I didn't think it through thoroughly, if I didn't have it all dialed in, that somehow I was maybe not providing the level of value that I wanted to. And the truth of the matter is, I was actually taken away from it because that stress bled through. When I tripped up on a word in the middle of saying something or said something wrong, instead of laughing it off, I would get all uptight and then fumble. It would start kind of like this fumble train where it would keep happening. I would, put on a lot of stress before I even showed up. So then I blew in there, not wanting to talk to anybody, focusing on my notes before class, when really that time before class, you should be connecting with your clients, with your students, finding out what's going on with them. How are they feeling in their body, greeting new students, making sure nobody has anything that you need to be aware of so that you can teach correctly for that, any modifications. That time before class is so beautiful. And I was ruining it because I was like in my head. And then there are times I would just leave in a huff because I thought, well, I blew that. The truth is I did not. So much time has been wasted in this area of overthinking, and I'm sure you can relate to that, and that's why you're here. So let's talk a little further about this before I give you some tips of what to do so you can overcome this, so you can be confident, so you can get rid of that self-doubt, so you can stop the overthinking already and rest in the knowledge that you know everything you need to know. Yes, there's always space to learn more, but you've got what it takes to go out there and lead confidently. So here's what's really going on when you're overthinking. You are caught in a stress loop. It's not just in your head, it's in your body too. So there is this thought that's happening that's stressing you out, and you are going then to feel that in your body. Your heart might race, your breath gets dysregulated, you become tense, you're in a state of contraction. Your nervous system goes into this protection mode. So it's almost like that fight or flight kicks in, or that analysis paralysis, even where you don't even take action. You're just like, ooh, deer in the headlights. And you're cutting yourself off from the creativity. You're cutting yourself off from flow, from clarity. Overthinking just drains your inspiration and cuts you off from source. And I talk about this a lot. You need to be open and connected to source, which you get by being grounded and present so that you can allow things to come through you rather than drain and deplete you. You will become a conduit for energy to move through you. And then you can just give without being depleted. The funny thing is that we overthink because we trick ourselves into thinking that thinking more and thinking harder will give you all the answers. When really it's cutting you off from the clarity, from the inner guidance, the inner wisdom, from the source energy, whatever you believe in, it is cutting you off from that flow. So you don't want to think your way out of it. It's always better just to stop, pause, and listen. Maybe ask a prompting question and listen. Let's not try and think ourselves out of overthinking. It's not going to work. There have been times in the middle of class where I have totally gotten off track of my sequence, which I always recommend keeping a notebook nearby. Now it's kind of like a security blanket. I have my class written out. I may never look at that thing, but if I have it next to my mat, I feel like safe, like it's there if I need it. But even with that there's been times where I went into a sequence or a pose and I'm like, that wasn't on the agenda. Uh-oh, now what? And instead of getting into this place of overthinking, because you need to be guiding the inhalation, the exhalation, making sure that you're not in that pose for too long or too little and balancing it from side to side so you don't spend 2 minutes on the right side and 30 seconds on the left side. There's a lot going on when you're teaching. You can't be in overthinking because you need to be in flow. You need to be present with what's going on. And there's many times where I've gotten into that uh-oh state of like, how did I get here? And how do I naturally and gracefully transition out of this and make it look like it was all meant to happen? And I'll tell you, it wasn't by looking at my notes. It wasn't by overthinking and checking through all the poses that I know. It literally was from getting quiet and just feeling in my body and going like, what feels like the most natural thing to do next? What feels like the most nourishing way to move on from this posture and go gracefully into what I had originally planned? What maybe could come completely out of the sequence and never be missed? And that came from not overthinking, but asking that prompting question and then just getting quiet and listening. So that's going to be my first piece of advice of how to break that overthinking is to pause, ask a prompting question like, what next? What would make sense here? What would feel good right now? Maybe it's just more quiet. Sometimes not talking is the best thing. Not changing a position is the best thing. Sometimes you just need to slow down and be quiet. Overthinking is you in your head. So you need to get into your body, get quiet and get into your body. Maybe that's a body scan. Starting from your head to your toes, just scan through, release any residual pent up energy. You might use a color to scan your body with. You might just use your breath, inhaling and exhaling out any tension. Get into any part of your body. Maybe it's wiggling your fingers, rubbing your fingertips together, and just really noticing that sensation or the friction or heat that builds up there. Maybe it's wiggling your toes. There's a lot of things you can do to get back into your body that can be barely perceptible to anybody on the outside, so they don't know what you're doing. Maybe it's just rubbing your tongue on the roof of your mouth, pressing it against the back of your teeth. There's a lot of things you can do, but you need to pause, you need to get quiet, get in your body, and then ask a very prompting question or just wait for guidance. Just wait for something to happen that feels like the right thing to do. If you trust that it will, it will. If you overthink, if you doubt, you're blocking yourself from that inner wisdom, from your inner guidance system, from any sort of clarity or creativity. Maybe something you've never even tried comes in and you just like embrace it and go, let's go there. Let's see what happens. And maybe it doesn't work and you laugh it off and you move on. It doesn't matter. But you have to pause, you have to get into your body and you just ask for the guidance. One of the best ways to get into your body, you know it. You're out there teaching it. Use your breath. You know how to do that. Use your breath, slow it down, equal it out, whatever you got to do. Teach it. Heck, teach it while you're doing it yourself. There's so many times I've needed a moment. So the whole class took a moment. They didn't know I needed it, that I was stuck, that I was going to secretly figure out what to do next. All they knew is we were breathing. We were doing some square breath and we're going to do 3 rounds of it. And I tell you what, by the end of those 3 rounds of square breath, I knew what we were going to do. It came to me. It just felt right. That's another trick of the trade, just saying. But use your breath. Now, when it comes to upcoming decisions that need to be made, or like the event that might pop up, or should I do this or should I do that? I don't know. Should I take this job here or this class there? Should I make this online or do this in person? Should this be a 3-day event or a 2-hour workshop? Any decision that you need to make where you block yourself and you notice that you're stuck in this cycle of overthinking, you're not getting anywhere, you're not gaining momentum, you're stalling, you're procrastinating, you're stressing out over it, you're asking everybody else instead of just tuning into yourself. When those things are happening, this is when it's great to journal. And I would say journal on the truth versus fear. So, what is it that's really circling in your head? What are the thoughts circling in your head? What are the fears that are coming up? Write them down. The good, the bad, the ugly, write them all down. And then really discern. So, hold them up to the light of truth, the light of perspectives, of varying perspectives that don't have anything to do with your own bias. And if you have to pretend like this is a friend bringing this to you and it's not you, so you can get outside of yourself to give sound advice, then do that. Because there's something that happens when it's us. We take it so personally. We have all our stories connected and all of our beliefs and whatnot that it screws up the whole process. But sometimes when we flip that around and say, well, what would my best friend say if they were saying this to me? What would I say to my best friend? Usually that changes things. You can see things from a different perspective. So discern if the thoughts that you are thinking actually hold any weight. Are they even true? Or are they just silly fears? Is it just another form of procrastination? Is it just a way for you to avoid maybe even success? Maybe it's because you actually need a little more help in one area. Maybe you need a little more anatomy, in your life. You need to learn a little more of that. And that's what holds you back because you fear some of your instruction. So maybe the best thing you do is take an extra anatomy class. Maybe you really want to be great at Sanskrit, which I don't really see the point of anymore. It's really just a fancy way of saying all the poses and no one really cares about it anyway. But maybe you want to sound a certain way and you're afraid that you're going to screw it up every time you try. So, get into some study that helps you with that. Find some resources that will help you along with the enunciation of the Sanskrit words. Find the things that are holding you back so that you can really work with those so they no longer hold you back. They're no longer a belief that's going to stall you. And if it's just overthinking like silly things like, am I ready for this? Or will they even come? Or is this even of value? Or will I know what to do? Or how am I going to do this outside? What if it rains? If it's all that crazy stuff, that can be dealt with. That is a lot of you just kind of talking yourself out of things because there is some hidden fear or belief beneath all of that. So dive into what is really the underlying fear here? And what is the truth of the matter? If you were to discern that, hold up a light against it, if your best friend came to you with it, what is the truth? Because most likely it's all smoke and mirrors and you're just standing in your own way, overthinking things, cutting yourself off from clarity, from creativity, from flow, all of the things that are going to really draw people into you and make this a very enjoyable experience. So, all this to really remind you that aligned action, so not being stuck in overthinking, aligned action, that's forward momentum, that's moving forward, that doesn't come from a place of over planning. It comes from this wellspring that is clarity and creativity coming from a present and grounded state. So get yourself grounded in your body, become very present, discern what is truth or just fear and nonsense, and move from a place that feels right. And how do you know if something's right? I'll tell you a real easy way, a trick that I love is like the stoplight theory. If something just feels like a green light, oh, it just feels like, yes, go for it, go for it. Now, if it's a really huge decision or a big investment or something that's totally going to affect your life and others, maybe give it 3 days, the 3 day rule before you make a huge overhaul of your life. But generally speaking, if something feels like a green light, it feels open, expansive, go for it. If something feels like a yellow light where you're like, you're stalling, that's when you need to question, is this truth or fear? What's the underlying belief here? And work with a little bit. If there's a red light, there's something there. It's probably not right for you, but you do need to make sure it's just not coming from a fear-based place. But there is a hard like contraction and no when something's not on point for you. So if you just tend to get stalled in overthinking, not just in yoga, but in everything in life, use the red, yellow, green light theory to kind of help guide you along so you can take a lot of the legwork out of the whole process and just kind of move through a little quicker. Now, if you're ready to move out of that anxious overthinking and you just want to move into some calm clarity, I do have a free guided meditation. It's a 30-minute yoga nidra. Link is in the description. I'd love for you to get yourself comfortable, plug into that, and really release the tension. This goes so deep into your nervous system. You will not wake up feeling the same. Wake up like you're falling asleep. Sometimes I do fall asleep. Maybe I just needed a nap. You will not come out of it the same. You will feel reset, rejuvenated, and ready to receive. So if you are making any decisions, this is a great thing to do right before you make a decision because you're coming from that grounded place of calm, from clarity, from presence. And I really, really hope you take advantage of that because once you grab that, you can download it. You have it to use over and over again. Thanks so much for watching this episode. If it resonated with you, leave me a comment. I'd love to address whatever it is for you where you find overthinking shows up the most. Let's talk about it. And don't forget to grab that free Yoga Nidra meditation. It's going to be a game changer for you. And remember, overthinking might feel like productivity. It might feel like you are thinking your way into all the solutions, but you're not. You're cutting yourself off from that creativity, from that clarity, which is what you really need in order to lead from a place of flow, from an authentic place of leadership, really trusting that you know what you're doing because you do have that confidence. And remember those 2 tips. Take a moment to pause, get into your body, ground yourself, body scan, breathe, whatever you need to do. Maybe ask yourself a prompting question and just be quiet and listen for the answer. Just takes a few seconds. And then also hold everything up to the light of truth. Where is this coming from? Is this real? Is this a fear or is this the truth? I bet you a lot of it's just fear, just old stuff, old self doubt. Move on from that. You've got this. All right. I'll catch you in the next episode, my friends.